Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the My Game Guys Board Gaming Podcast. I'm your host Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're coming to you with another Thursday episode sponsored by our sponsors, Gray Fox Games. They are currently supporting the show with coupon codes for buying board games over on their website, grayfoxgames.com. They have a coupon code going for us over on their website, grayfoxgames.com, NOV Game Guys. NOV Game Guys, all caps, all spelled out. Nice big long coupon code there. That will get you 20% off all non-exclusive items over there. So you can go get yourself some great games from Gray Fox Games. Support them, support us, save yourself 20% in the whole process. So win-win-win, as Michael Scott is known to love, those win-win-win style compromises. So, yeah, we survived the election in the United States. All of the mass disturbances failed to materialize, at least around here. So we're back with another episode of this board gaming podcast to continue to talk about board games in the middle of a pandemic, because that's what we do.
The lack of unrest was so great, in fact, that gun stock went down. So,
yes. I just hope that ammo is affordable again soon.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's been like almost, 12 years since ammo went up and has never come back down?
Oh, no, it skyrocketed this last year. Like,
even more?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, the ammo that I like to buy, you used to be able to get, if you ordered in bulk online, you used to be able to get for like 30 to 40 cents a round if you'd gotten it like last year. It's now going for well over $1 a round. It's like, you really want to reduce gun usage in the U.S. Like, that's the way to do it. Like, you're never going to get anybody to give up their guns, but just make ammo prohibitively expensive.
I want to say, was it Dave Chappelle? Somebody made it, with
$10,000.
$10,000. No, I think it was Chris Rock, maybe. I don't know. Somebody made it where it's $10,000. You just like look at you and just like, I really want to shoot you, but that's fucking too expensive.
Just not worth it.
You're literally not worth it.
It might have been Chris Rock. Anyway, this is a board gaming podcast. We're going to talk about board games, and then we can talk about bantery, non-board game related things like ammo prices and what a terrible human being I am later. So, board gaming wise, after last week where none of us played any board games, this week, Zach and I played what is basically a board game, and we'll talk about that after Jeff talks about the real board games he played, because Jeff was the hero of this week for playing actual board games. So take it away, Jeff.
He was the hero that we needed.
Yes.
That we didn't want, but we needed.
Yeah. No.
I don't know if we deserved him or not. That's yet to be determined.
So first up, I'm going to talk about Pandemic Legacy Season 0. Played through a prologue game of that, which is the non-spoilery, no legacy amount of game that is how you sort of learn what the new mechanics are. And boy, are they different.
How many people?
Just me playing dual-handed.
Okay.
Okay. So there's still epidemic cards, and that's because this is Cold War spies and stuff like that. There are no more like outbreaks. I think we've talked about this before in the past, where we were like, when a fourth Russian spy appears in a city, it's not like they branch out to all adjacent cities. They don't multiply like that. But what does happen is an incident. So if that fourth one comes down, you will draw an incident card. Basically, all the infection cards have various different incidents on them. That is some sort of negative thing in the game. One good example is all of your your mobile mop-up units. Those are like the things that you're building with your traditional 5-card cure of the same kind of hand color, those would all have to go to Washington. So wherever they were in the world, now they're in Washington. And instead of you spending your actions, you can use your actions to move them one space. So they are kind of like additional characters on the board.
Okay.
But all of them moving to Washington super sucks, because now you have to move them all the way across the world again. But they are super powerful. They are basically like mobile medics that will... there's a new phase. So you'll do your 4 actions, and between those 4 actions and you drawing any cards is the mop-up phase. If that van is in a city matching its like east, west, or neutral, like Soviet, ally, or neutral, it will clear out all of the Soviets or the agents that are in that city. So you want to park them where you want to clear some dudes out. Of course, you can go and clear a dude out as you move through there, but you'd never want to end where there is one, because now there's there was the Scar equivalent in the previous versions. Now there's like being exposed, blowing your cover type stuff. So you can use these vans to do that. Also, there's kind of so how the objectives work, you're trying to find certain cities, and it works almost like Star Wars Rebellion, where you're trying to find like the rebel hideout. You're trying to like whittle down which city is that has the guy that you're trying to find in it, and that's kind of like your final objective. So so you're putting all of your markers on. There's like there's not really any. There's not this 4 colors anymore. Like North America's purple, South America's blue, Africa's green, Europe is yellow, red is kind of like where Asia, Australia would normally be. Black is kind of like where the Middle East and Central Asia. So it basically there's new color. There's purple and green. There's 2 new colors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it breaks down each like, I don't know, continent area: Asia, Pacific Rim, Africa, South America, North America, Europe. But since there's no more colored diseases and it's all just agents, hostile agents, the prologue's objective is you're trying to find someone in Europe, and you're trying to like X out where this guy is. And if you get it down to like 2 or 3, you just need to have your like mobile medic agent murder mop-up teams in those cities. You just need, so you don't need to get it down to the one city and have a character in there. You just need those vans where you think that he is, and then you kind of pull the trigger, and then you win or lose based on if you had them thinned down significantly enough.
Okay.
It's super cool. It's super different. I really look forward to playing the legacy elements in this a lot. I really look forward to just playing the prologue with some more people, because it does play significantly different from any other Pandemic, and I would just like to play the prologue some more, because it is a very different take on Pandemic that is pretty interesting, especially that I like the thinning down like the different cities to try and figure out which one's the one that you're actually looking for mechanic. And then of course all the legacy stuff where you have your cute little passports that you're making disguises on.
Yes.
But it seems like the loss of people mechanic in this is a lot less annihilatingly brutal as it was in the other Pandemic versions. But it is slightly odd that if you lose your character, you take one of the, like, I had mentioned this before, because in the prologue you're just using, like, the unnamed covers that have powers. But if you lose, like, your main passport guy, you have to choose one of those other covers, and you use that for the rest of the game, it sounds like. At least from the rulebook, about, like, you have to take this person. So you can't choose one of the others or make a new one. It's sort of you lost your good thing, and now you don't get as good of a thing for the rest of the game. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But Season 0, super cool with like how those incidents work and the hunt mechanic they have in it. It's neat.
Right on.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
I want to try it.
Yeah, it's super cool.
This is why we need to finish our game, Adrian.
Yeah. Zach and I are gonna definitely step up and try and knock out the rest of this game soon.
Yeah.
I'll make it more of a point. Oh, yeah.
I liked it a lot more than Season 2 as like a different pandemic. It's
okay.
It's super different, and I like it.
Right on.
After like one game of the prologue, we'll see how the rest goes. But it has good impressions.
Fair
so
enough.
far.
Okay. Cool.
Next up, I played a little bit of New York Zoo, Uwe Rosenberg's new polyomino animal-related game.
Okay.
I had seen Eric from one of the founders of Punchboard Media.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yes, Eric Buscemi.
Yes, Buscemi. That's different from what's Eric playing?
Yes.
Okay.
Different Eric.
Yes, different Erics. And I saw a post on Twitter, and he was talking about how I also agree. So all these polyomino shapes have 4 different shades of green. There's like light medium, medium dark, and dark. and during setup, you have to put each little like bay gets 3 different polyominoes, and you have to put them like bottom to top based on the colors, but they're all very similar. So you kind of have to match them to their different bays. I don't know. It was not the greatest color setup, but it does look nice once you have it going onto your player board. So what it is similar to Second Chance, with some more game in there.
Okay.
You're just trying to fill up. It would help if you know what you're looking at by seeing an image of what it is, but you have a like an 8 square by 8 square, but sort of not all the way big. It's a weird shape. It's basically an 8 by 8 square with like the top left chunk taken out for your neutral animal house, I guess you could call it. Not the movie.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yes. And that shape changes depending on how many players in the game. I was doing the solo, which there's a solo board for, but there's a central board that has all of your various polyominoes, and then a little elephant. So the elephant, when it's your turn, you can move it 1 to 4 spaces, crossing various like breeding lines for these different animal meeples, which it comes with otters, penguins, kangaroos, foxes, I think was the other, the white one, and flamingos, penguins, otters, foxes, kangaroos. Each one of these little polyomino shapes is like it is very diverse, how many different shapes there are, because it's not so much, well, it is a bit about the shapes, but it's also a bit not about the shapes.
Okay.
You're trying to fill up your zoo. You win the game by filling every square in your zoo, but all of these shapes can't really, if you just use the shades of green, you won't finish first. And in the solo version, you have 5 little tiles that let you move 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and once you exhaust one of those, they don't refresh until you've used the last of them, and you get to go around the track twice. And then if you filled it, you win, and if you don't, you get a bunch of negative points, whatever. But all these green tiles are cages, enclosures for all these various animals. So you're putting all of the animals on these squares. When you fill up one of these polyominoes with a single type of animal, you do that by crossing various points with your elephant on the board. That's like you can take one of this type, one of that type, or one of each. And then there's various breeding lines that you'll cross with that action. And then if there's 2, now they become 3. If there's 4, they become 5. But you get a bonus breeding thing based on where you are, that if you breed in one area, another cage can also breed. And when you fill up an entire enclosure, there's a bunch of special tiles that are like big shapes that are sort of your, Busch Gardens-esque, like zoo/amusement park type stuff. So you have like a roller coaster or an ice cream stand, and those might be like a 1x1 or a 3x4. So getting that early would be very advantageous to finishing up your board. You can only ever place like one animal on something unless you're breeding, and that's where your neutral spaces in the top left come in. So you can use those neutral spaces to hold animals that you might not want to put on another enclosure or save for later to be able to do like a big action with. And then you're just sort of putting down all of these little cute animals and trying to be as efficient as possible while picking up these polyominoes and putting down animals. And it comes with just an absolute fuckload of animal meeples that are all not just cubes or anything like that. They're actually shaped like said animals. And then, you fill it up and then you get a score. Or you want to be first. And if you're first and you tie with someone else on the same action, you then get to like whoever has the most meeples or whatever. It's a pretty simple, basic game. That's what Uwe Rosenberg's been making lately. I think the whole price is like $40, and I would say 90% of that price comes from the like dozens of animeeples that comes with this thing. The amount of components is quite large. It was a little neat solo game. No real, I don't know. It wasn't like amazing, but it also wasn't like this is bad. It was sort of just like this is okay. Another
right on
Rosenberg middle to lightweight, medium light polyomino game.
Sounds like a lot of what he's been doing lately.
Yeah. And then after that, I played Marvel Champions Ant-Man.
Oh.
Also known as I played Marvel Champions using Ant-Man.
Okay.
There's nothing particularly special, except I got the Ant-Man Hero Pack, and I've been getting a bunch of those Hero Packs and never playing them because I haven't been playing in person.
Same here.
So I went online and the Tabletop Simulator, and it's already in there, and so I just played a little solo against Rhino, which it was basic villain. I didn't want to have to try and learn how fucking Kang the Conqueror worked, so because that would have been a nightmare. So this is the first of the like
duo ones.
It's first of the team up.
Yeah,
and it's also the first of the giant size ones they call it. So Wasp and Ant-Man. Wasp is the next one, but they'll have a hero card that's double-sided, and then it will actually open up to be a double-size card. The hinge on the card is so far so good, but I wonder what it will be like after a lot of use. You also can't sleeve this card, so
I think there are sleeves that are like made specifically for it.
Okay,
there are some other card games that have something similar. So
okay,
yeah, but no, you can't just have a regular sleeve in it. So
no, because you have your Scott Lang, your Ant-Man Tiny, and your Ant-Man Giant. What I'll start with is the team up card. So there's only one actual like team up card in this deck, and it's the first one that there I think has ever been. And it did kind of solve my problem of what the team up was. And the team up card is you can only have one team up maximum per deck, and it's team up Ant-Man and Wasp. And it's an event. It costs 1. It's called Swarm Tactics. Hero action. Change to your other hero form. Render your hero. So you can go from tiny to giant or giant to tiny. What is nice is you don't need another hero specifically to do the team up. It's Ant-Man or Wasp of any ally or hero. So you can use an ally Wasp, an ally Ant-Man to be able to use this team up card, which solves kind of the problem I was thinking that it would have. It'd be like, well, if I'm not actually partnered with that other hero, how am I supposed to use this? It's not that great a card. That from what I found, I was like, okay, I can get a swap, more than one swap, I guess, but he has so many cards that let you swap forms that it's not like it's a big deal to, like, he has 2 cards that are free that lets you change to your other hero form and draw a card. And, like, Pim Particles, after you spend this card, heal 2 damage. That's different. But, yeah, like, he has a bunch of cards that let you do it. I guess this is just another one, but Anyway, he has a fuckload of allies. So his base deck is like a blue leadership deck, and it has Wasp, it has Hank Pym Ant-Man, it has a Giant Man, it has Ronin, it has Stinger, who is Cassie Lang, his daughter, and then a ton of like ally cards. It's sort of the standard ally deck I wish Captain America was with all of the Avengers. Because he has a ton of ways to get out extra allies and things like that. His giant form is like doing damage, and his tiny form is doing threat.
Okay.
And he has various ways to heal himself, and then depending if you're in giant, so the Pim Particles I was talking about earlier, after you spend this card, heal 2 damage if you're in giant form, or draw a card if you're in tiny hero form. So it depends on what form you're in, depends on what some of these cards do. There's a bunch of Army of Ants. There's like 3 of them in here, that if you're tiny, you can exhaust Army of Ants to deal damage to an enemy, and there's 3 of them. So you got to get like 3 little 1 damage, like, here, ants, eat this minion, which would be a horrible way to go. Just eaten by ants. His helmet, like if you're giant, you heal, and if you're tiny, you draw a card. It seems to be kind of what happens with either your giant size or tiny size. And then he has his gauntlets that actually let you stun or confuse an enemy, which I have not seen much confusion out there. But yeah, otherwise it's kind of like your standard ally deck, with a bunch of cool ally stuff. His nemesis, though, is Yellow Jacket, and he's a real bastard. So if you ever have any... his fucking side scheme, treat the printed text box of each tech player card as if it were blank. So if you have any tech heroes, and this side screams out, your tech is literally blank.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's
a side scheme. Thankfully, it's only 2 per player. But that has to go. Yellow Jacket will be either giant or tiny based on whether you are giant or tiny. Unfortunately, his card does not expand to giant or tiny. And then he has these size increase cards that give him +2 scheme, +2 attack. And then but it has 3 counters on it, and you have to... then they go away as much as he activates. The real extra level on this is that it makes you discard cards from the encounter deck until you get to an Ant-Man Nemesis set card, and then reveal it. So his stuff's coming out with his treachery, and if you draw that after, it's a real nasty Nemesis, in my opinion. Because sometimes you'll get the Nemesis card in there, but then you might see that one, but then you draw that other card, and it's like, no, we're getting more. So you get to see a little more of the real bullshit that Yellow Jacket is. But otherwise, it was okay. Doing all the ally stuff. I like the ally decks. I really liked that Captain America ally deck that I had, and this seems like a cool base, ally card or ally deck that was fun to play. And Smash Rhino, like I have a million times before.
You didn't forget that his scheme only lasts 1 round or 1 card, like I did.
I did not forget that. No,
that's good.
Yep.
That's what they call a pro gamer move.
Yes, real pro gamer moves here. So yeah, Ant-Man, Neat. The latest and
Awesome.
greatest from Marvel Champions.
Right on. Any other games you played that you want to talk about?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, that technically puts us out of the board game section. However, Zach and I are going to cheat, and we're going to claim that Among Us is basically a board game in video game form, and we're going to talk about our election night Among Us streaming. So we had been loosely kind of planning this for like a week leading up to the election. That a bunch of people from the Slack channel were going to ignore the election because we didn't expect results election night, and we were just going to drink and play Among Us, and it was going to be great. We ended up not having as many people as I'd hoped. That we had enough like interest that we'd pretty much have a constant churn of 10. That didn't really happen. So I did end up streaming. I think I streamed most of when I was playing. I know, Zach, you guys kept playing a little bit after I got off.
Mm-hmm.
But we did stream it. I think for the most part, we were running like 7 to 9, I feel like is roughly where we were.
Yes. At that point, we had enough people to get 2 imposters. So
yeah. I kept true to the I was drinking aspect of things, including like Megan and I each had a huge glass of wine with our nice steak dinners. Because we were like, well, if the entire world's going to shit tonight, just in case, we're going to have a nice steak dinner. So I don't remember a lot of exact details, is what I'm getting at. It was a lot of fun, as most Among Us is. I do remember one interesting detail. I wasn't the imposter, I don't think, the entire fucking night. It might have been a different night than I'm thinking. It might have been like the next night.
No, I don't
I'm pretty
think you
sure
were.
that. Yeah, I don't think I was the imposter even fucking once, which that is easily one of the most disheartening things that can happen in Among Us, is if you play for like an hour and a half to 2 hours and you never once get to kill somebody, besides like contributing your vote to throw them out an airlock, which is not the same thing. However, I did catch on the stream, and I need to go on before it goes off of Twitch. I need to get on and go clip some of these things. I caught some amazing moments of just utter betrayal, like somebody, ducking in and murdering someone when everybody, like, I was a ghost, and so I was just in the area, and you could see somebody run in, murder someone, and run out, and then the 2 people who were left blamed each other over the corpse.
Oh yeah,
and
that happened.
shit like
That happened to me twice. And it was two different games, and it was 2 different imposters that did it. The first time, I think it was Dayton. Yeah, Dayton and I were in admin, and then we both did our thing, and we came back, and there was a body there, and I immediately blamed her. She blamed me. You guys took her side, and then I got jettisoned, and then quickly she died too, and it was like, oh no, somebody, and so I think the imposters won that one, and then the very next game, the same thing happened, but it was a different. I don't know if I was a part of it or not, but it was the same exact thing where someone ran in and did it, and we just continued to blame each other.
Yeah, it was majestic.
Yep. I know our friend Matt, who I guess moved to Sweden now.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was watching on the Twitch, and he kept telling you to blame me, and that I was.
That was that Matt.
Yes.
I was like, I know I have to know who this is.
As soon as said Mike, I was a terrible cribbage player. I was like, fucking Matt. Well, and he was right only half the time, because I was the traitor through a good amount of it. I know the first couple times I played traitor in previous games, like I tried to slow play it, and it didn't work that great. And so when I was doing this here, I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna murder as many people as I possibly could. And I want to say the first time I was an imposter, I immediately killed, within 5 seconds I killed somebody, and then I was able to kill one more person before somebody found a body. And then I think I was able to get 2 more kills then I got voted out. But then my favorite, like, there are two memorable ones for me. There was one where then they were both when there were two imposters. I was an imposter. I was hanging near Dayton again. We were doing some oxygen stuff, and then somebody died in admin, and it wasn't me. But then I immediately got like, I wasn't the person that killed him, but the blame immediately got put on me, and I definitely could feel like I wasn't gonna shake it. So I tried to make it seem like I was the one that killed him to hopefully make the other person look innocent. And I think it worked for a little while, but then they ended up getting voted out because I want to say they killed somebody right in front of somebody else, and it's one of those awkward moments. But the next couple imposter games I had, one of them I remember Bob killed somebody, but then Richard saw Bob kill somebody, or like walked into Bob right after he killed, and Dayton was right behind him, and so immediately threw the blame onto Bob, and then Bob was throwing the blame on them, saying they were both bad guys, and then they ended up voting off Bob, who was the imposter. And I want to say we had 8 or 9 people at this point, and I was just like, oh, god damn it, this is going to be fucking hard. But so we voted for Bob, and then Wes immediately called an emergency meeting. It was like, guys, to make sure that we don't have 2 bad people, we should probably vote to kill Dayton or Richard, just to make sure, in case we were wrong about Bob. And everybody was just like, Jesus Christ, West, are you kidding me? And, he was using sound logic, and as the last bad guy, I was just, I wasn't going to fucking argue, but I wasn't going to argue for or against it. I was just like, God damn, that's bold, Wes. And so that immediately cast so Richard and Dayton were at odds with Wes on there, and Dana was just like, if we do kill someone, you should kill me, so I can get done with my my things quicker. But they ended up not killing anybody, and then I went around and killed 2 more people in that time, one of which was Dayton, and then I think I killed, I forget who else it was, but then there's just 4 people left. It was me, Wes, Richard, and V, because she joined us for some of these games, and Richard immediately started like throwing suspicion on Wes, and Wes was throwing it on Richard, but then also sort of throwing it onto V as well. And then they went to kill each other. Like they ended up voting out Wes because of that. And then we voted somebody else out, and then I think I killed Wes. And then
I don't remember.
Yeah. So we got back, and it was just the 3 of us, and then Richard and V immediately voted for each other. And so then I, as the imposter, got to fucking be like, oh, I get to choose who I kill and win the game.
That is always a delicious position to be in.
Yes. And so I think I ended up killing Richard, and then I won that way. And it was very reminiscent because the previous game, or the game before that, it got to the point where there were 3 people left, and it was Wes and Bob immediately blaming each other, and I had to choose, and I was a crewmate this time, and I had to choose who was the imposter, and I ended up choosing right with that one with Wes. But I remember there was another time when I had killed somebody, and then right when somebody was about to find that body, somebody found another body that I killed, and the confusion of who was reporting a body, we were able to immediately just like throw V under the bus as killing somebody because she found a body that was and didn't report it, just because Bob happened to hit report first. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really good. I had an absolute blast on it. Even while I was playing, like what little bit I remember, I wanted to keep playing. But Megan was starting to feel, because since I wanted to stream it, I was up here in the studio, and so she was just downstairs in the basement trying to ignore the election on her own, and she was feeling left out.
Understand.
So I went and kept her company. Plus, I was like, man, I haven't been the imposter in like fucking an hour and a half. This is bullshit.
I will give you one piece of advice, Adrian. When you're ending a stream, like you started talking like it was the game where I ended up winning as the imposter by voting somebody out.
Yeah.
That one you got kicked out, if you remember.
Yeah, because right at the end I got canceled. Like
yes.
it sucked.
Yep. And so you got kicked out, and then and then you're immediately like, all right, well, I guess I'm not going to pay attention and then you started talking to Twitch, be like, you know, thanks for watching all that stuff. Except right when you started doing it, we started talking on Discord, and it was the final like speech of them talking about wanting to kill each other, and then me doing it. And so you were talking all the way through that, and I was just like, God damn it, Adrian. And then right when it was getting close, you're like, and I'm just going to turn this off. And I was like, you weren't even paying attention. You were at the climax. But definitely don't talk, like turn off Discord when you're going to, because I don't think people could understand what you were saying just because you were trying to talk in the nose at the same volume was Discord.
Because I think I had muted Discord on my end, and I didn't realize it wasn't also muted on the stream.
Yes.
Because there wasn't really anybody actually watching the stream live at that point, I don't think. And so there was no one to be like, dude, we can't hear you because the audio is all fucked up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm certainly not used to streaming like video games like that, because that was a hard thing anyway. It was just like trying to talk to like chat and be like engaged with the stream to make that interesting for somebody watching while also still trying to play the game.
Well, and I've watched some streamers do it, and it's definitely like you can talk to them while nobody's talking. Yeah. But then definitely let them listen to the arguments that happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Sorry you couldn't join us, Jeff. I know it was once again too late for you.
Yes.
Which, and I had wanted to even start that one earlier. Like, I feel like we started at like 7 on that one. Maybe it wasn't quite that early, but yeah, that does suck. Hopefully someday soon you'll get to play with us again, Jeff.
Never. Never again.
You just went from working too late to working too early, man.
Yep.
It's just
pretty much.
I can definitely relate to that. Speaking of, there was another game that's like a social deduction game that we are trying to maybe get some people together for. Project Winter. So the 3 of us all have it, but I think you need a minimum of 8 for this one. So we need 5 more people who have Project Winter to get a hold of us so that we can all try to play that sometime. Preferably earlier so that Jeff can actually participate.
Yes, that would be nice.
All right, so that concludes our what we've been playing section. By slowly making Among Us actually count as a just social deduction board game, and not the social deduction video game that it technically is. So now we can move on into some actual banter. I don't have a whole lot banter wise. The Broncos got stomped. I didn't watch any of the game. I haven't actually watched any Broncos football in like 4 weeks. But I know everybody was at work was talking about the fact that it looked for a moment like they were going to come back from 21 points behind and win in the very end, but they failed to do so. So Broncos are bad. Not surprising. I did also see, though, that they have like 19 players on IR with a combined salary of $45 million. So we're hurt. We got a lot of players that we're paying a lot of money to who are too hurt to play. So that sucks.
Seems like a lot.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot. Weather-wise, Denver weather-wise, it is snowing right now. It is cold. It is miserable. I am very happy about it. It's cold and miserable, but I love the snow.
And the snow is only accumulating on grass and trees.
Yep.
Not the roads.
Yeah, and on my deck. but it is melting anywhere where there is any kind of concrete because it was
in the
like
70s
60
for
degrees
10
2
days.
days ago.
Yeah.
But I guess some of the mountains are starting to get hit. So I'm excited about that. Megan bought a new set of boots for snowboarding last week. I dropped off my board to get it repaired and like get it all tuned up and ready to go for the season. I bought a new backpack for riding. We still, both Megan and I, need to get our Avi gear. So we need to get like our beacon shovels, probes, because we're basically going big on learning to do backcountry snowboarding this year. We're going to take some Avi classes. Our passes are at a like controlled backcountry area. And so we're going all in on that. We're also going to be turning her Subaru into a winter camping vehicle. So I've got some loose sketches that I'm working on tightening up and getting exactly figured out. But we're going to build like a platform where like you can lay her back seats down and then fold it out, and it'll be a platform that'll hold an air mattress so we can sleep and have storage underneath of it. And the air mattress will it's a really good 4-season air mattress, so it'll keep us nice and cozy, along with some blankets and our really good down sleeping bags. Gonna try and make a little den spot for the doggo. And we're gonna plan on doing some winter camping and backcountry snowboarding. So
Cool.
Getting excited for that. And then probably the last bit of banter that I have, I caved during the most recent Steam sale, which was about a week ago.
Halloween.
Halloween-ish, yeah. I bought Rimworld. It was barely on sale, but it's a game that only ever barely goes on sale. And I don't know what exactly made me finally cave on it. It's been on my wish list for, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years. But for some reason, I was like, fuck it. I'm going to throw money at this because I'm bored and I want something new to play. And wow, am I glad I did. I really like that game.
You should play Dwarf Fortress next.
I've played a lot of Dwarf Fortress clones, and if Dwarf Fortress had a better, graphic interface,
The
any kind...
Dwarf Fortress that they released for Steam, I want to say, does have a new updated interface.
It's not ASCII anymore?
I think it actually uses graphics.
Holy shit.
Or at least a graphic mod to make it actually look not... It's not ASCII anymore. That's for sure.
Good. Because that's... Yeah. Dwarf Fortress is another one that I've always, vaguely, felt like I would like, but the ASCII especially. And I've always heard it's one that's super punishing about, just, all right, here's the game. Good fucking luck.
Yes.
Whereas Rimworld at least had a little bit of hey, you want to do a tutorial? We'll tell you exactly what to do to learn.
It's much smaller scale.
Yeah. But I've been greatly enjoying Rimworld. I'm already on my 3rd colony. My first colony, I thought I would be clever, and I thought I would put it on an island on the world map, to make it harder for bad guys to get to me and for my colony to be raided. What I didn't know is that there's no fucking ships. So although your people can cross shallow water, and although I could get trade caravans and raiders attacking me on the island or coming to trade with me, whichever the case may be, my people, I could not plot courses across the water to go visit anyone. I would have had to tech all the way up to drop pods, which is a fairly high level tech. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just play that out. Why not? I made this stupid mistake. I'll lay in this bed. And then I found a little building in my area that I opened, and it was full of super soldiers who were in cryopods, and they wiped out my entire colony.
Yay!
Yeah. My 3rd colony, I just kind of abandoned. They were definitely, it was a hard winter, and they were going to starve. Yeah, well, because they were gonna die. I chose poorly, apparently, with my 3 people, and so I had no one who really wanted to do any kind of, food work, hunting or growing or cooking, and so they were essentially completely out of food, and it was early in the winter, and they were definitely going to starve to death. So I was just like, all right, well, we're going to try this. 3rd time's a charm, and my 3rd colony is going great. I'm breeding lots of cattle. I made it through an awesome winter. In fact, my first winter, I was like, man, this was a super light winter, Megan. I grew crops the whole winter almost. It was great. And then that summer hit, and I had heat strokes fucking everywhere. I was like, oh, I guess I don't get lucky and have 4 seasons, all of them be awesome. So the only problem I'm having in that game is no one ever wants to fucking research. So I'm constantly like trying to find the one person who doesn't really have anything else useful to do and force them to just go sit at the research table and twiddle their thumbs. Because I really need batteries so that I have power storage. But yeah, I'm enjoying Rimworld so far. And that is the conclusion of my bantery things. What about you guys? What have you been up to? Video games, weather, sports, social life? Anything interesting?
What's social life?
I know, right?
Nothing really, I guess. I haven't really played any
How's the brewery? You're not burning down anymore.
No, nothing's on fire anymore nearby in Boulder. Same old, same old.
I noticed when I went to the liquor store today, they actually had a full, like, all the Avery was full again, as was all of the Founders. Because when I had went, like, 2 weeks ago, there was very little of the all-day IPA.
I think that was probably mostly to do with us not being able to get all-day IPA cans.
That's what I figured.
But I'd be surprised if they like ran out before we were able to package it and ship it all back out again. When did you go to the liquor store?
It was like a week or 2 ago.
Okay. We just shipped out a bunch last week. So
it might have been like right before they got that shipment or before they put it on the shelves. Maybe they had it. I don't know.
Because I have no idea what the time scale looks like of us shipping it to the distributor and the distributor shipping it to those various liquor stores.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah, nothing special. We have a new flavor of seltzer coming, mango. We're canning that for the first time Wednesday.
Okay. So
we'll see how that tastes. And then early next year, there's going to be 4 new flavors of seltzer on top of that. We're going to have 2 seltzer mix packs. 2 different ones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's like an all-berry flavored thing. I did try Upslope's Snow Melt.
Yeah.
Because half of our offsite dry warehouse is now shared with Upslope, who is using it to store their ungodly amount of cans. Like, it's just, holy shit, do they have so many cans? Like, they must have gotten their whole year's worth of cans in one go. Because I have no idea how they could package that much cans. But they had a like lime and juniper seltzer, so it kind of tastes like a gin and tonic. It was pretty tasty.
Nice.
Doesn't have really the gin in there, but the juniper. Yeah. Besides that, nothing spectacular I can think of. Haven't really been playing anything game wise. I guess that new Reigns came out. It's app. It's the one where you kind of swipe left or right to. It was like you were like a king, and then you were a queen, and then they did Game of Thrones, and now they have like a space one that seems to have. I haven't failed so far. It seems like it's a lot more about. There is a fail in there, I think, because it talks about clones, but you can always like if something gets too high, something else just breaks a lot. And when something breaks a lot, you can take another category and fix it with that. So as long as you're not broken across multiple categories at the same time, you can still survive. And it seems pretty, lenient on trying to not murder you with you and your space band. So you can space rock on a bunch of space planets. It actually has a little mini game in there where you're collecting little hearts with some cool music. It reminded me of Sayonara Wild Hearts, not just because you are collecting hearts, but you are having music beyond all of that. So there's a little more game in there than a lot of those other Reigns have had, where it's sort of just like figure out the puzzle and repeat it until you get the puzzle or the amount of endings that you want, or until you feel satisfied with the game. Yeah, very exciting.
Nice. What about you, Zach?
I don't think so. Nothing.
World of Warcraft?
I mean, it's still doing that. So it's the new
The pre-patch is like tomorrow, right?
Yeah, the second pre-patch. Yeah,
Yeah, the pre-patch event.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, I've just been continuing to go through older content. I think I'm 25,000 shards away from getting that mount, and then fuck off, Warlords of Draenor. So,
Oh, the Warlords. Still Warlords of Draenor, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I just I'm just trying to get this one mount at this point. I've done all the story stuff.
What's the mount?
It's this bird that's in the jungle. It's like the Dread Raven, but not. It's green. It's like I don't know.
Okay.
But
So
I
think I have the regular Dread Raven.
Yeah, you got the collector's edition.
That's
of
why.
Warlords.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks sort of like just like a fell corrupted version of that. I didn't have the Warlords one, and I don't have that style of mount anywhere. And so I'm like, oh, I want it. So
I want it.
Yep. And then getting close to. I just need a couple more days of it, and then I'll be done with that, and then I'll be done with Warlords. So
Hooray!
yay.
Now you're like, what was that? That was the 5th expansion?
Yes. Now I've played all of Legion.
Okay.
And yeah, no, it's the Warlords is the only one I skipped. Like everything else, I either started in the beginning or started at the end.
I see.
So, or played all the way through. But yeah, Warlords is the only one where didn't touch it. I stopped halfway through Panda, and I started again halfway through Legion. So
okay.
Yep.
Right on.
16 years that game's been out.
I know. Yeah, the anniversary's been going on.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Crazy go nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, right on. I think unless you guys have anything else, we can ramp up banter and move on into Blood Bowl?
No Blood Bowl.
No Blood Bowl.
The pre-order for the new rules is like next week. And then it'll come out at the end of November. And then people will pay $140 for that starter set.
Yeah.
Which seems expensive, but it has 2 new teams. It also has 2 big guys that are normally like way expensive just by themselves. It has an ogre and a troll, and it has the 2 stars, even though I never going to use those fucking stars. And then it has the rulebook. So I mean, it's not like, and the old starter set was $100, so this is extra $40. Even with that, you have those 2 big guys on top of everything else in there, which it's not the worst deal, but it is still quite expensive for Blood Bowl. But the rulebook will be sold separately. You don't have to buy the fucking core set just to get the rulebook if you don't want to. I will get the core set, of course, at some point.
Naturally.
But that's all the Blood Bowl news.
Indeed. Well, then we can move on over to some news and Kickstarters.
Yes.
So take it away, Jeff.
First up in news, Spiel Digital's numbers and such came out for how successful their Spiel Digital was this last week of October.
Yeah. Not a whole lot of information here. 148,000 visitors. Official live streams recorded more than 1 million hits. More than 400 publishers from 41 different nations participating, showing off new games. Tabletopia reported a doubling of users during Spiel Digital. So
I think
seems like it was
also
fairly
had like
successful.
Free premium during that, if I do remember correctly.
Possibly.
That's why Tabletopia was like so big during that.
Yeah, which I mean, it was probably a planned thing. Like,
yes.
If we make our premium free, we can maybe get people to be like, oh, premium's worth it.
Yes.
So, but yeah, they are hopefully tentatively planning on having Essen 2021 normally October 14th through the 17th next year. So they have an official press release out about it. We'll see. Who knows? So, but yeah, it seems like if nothing else, at least the digital version of this was fairly successful, at least they felt it was successful enough to really push some of those numbers. So good for them.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Things. will
I hope we
happen.
can do conventions next year.
We'll
Well,
see.
and realistically, so Japan is about to have the game market, I think is their board game thing. Like, that's happening in 3 weeks because, some nations actually handled this effectively.
Some,
So
not all.
far, 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 far from most even. But anyhow, let's move on to that last little bit of news for this week.
Last little bit of news: the Harry Potter big Kickstarter was actually canceled partway through the run due to the election.
Yeah, so I hadn't even noticed this game. I don't know when it actually launched. I forgot to double check that. But they updated pretty much right away. I think it launched on Tuesday the 3rd. Then on the 5th, they canceled it 3 days later with an update basically blaming the U.S. election.
It was
they said
the 5th, so it was Thursday that this launched.
Okay.
Project launches
yeah.
November 5th, 2020.
Yeah. I see that. And then immediately canceled on the same day, saying the current situation of uncertainty in the world derived from the electoral campaign in the U.S. is negatively affecting our Kickstarter. It's generating many technical problems and freezing our communication strategy plan. All social networks and platforms are having considerably less traffic, which has a very negative impact on advertising. I'm sorry, I don't buy that. There is no way Twitter didn't see, record numbers this last week as everybody, just constantly refreshing for new updates on the election. Maybe board game stuff wasn't as important, and maybe that affected them a little bit, but, anyway, they didn't fully cancel. They have postponed. They're going to relaunch Thursday, November 12th. So the same day that this episode is scheduled to come out, they will be launching this Kickstarter. It is Harry Potter Catch the Snitch. We're not going to talk about it in the Kickstarter section. I thought about it briefly. They had, at the time of canceling, raised $64,000 of a $445,000 goal from a first-time Kickstarter group, creator. Yeah, they've never done any other one ever. And I'm sure a lot of their FAQs weirdness is just translation errors, but there's still weird translation errors and stuff. Yeah. I do like that things somebody asked, or one of their FAQs was are all the characters of the books included in this? They're like, no, this is based on the cinematic universe. And things like that. But the game itself didn't look that interesting. It's a 2-player, I'm drawing a blank on what the name of the Quidditch. 2-player Quidditch board game. The cheapest pledge was $120 for a 2-player game that takes 30 to 45 minutes. The minis are kind of cool, but the Gryffindor team is funny because it's a bunch of known, characters, and then Gryffindor Seeker, because they obviously want you to buy the expansion that has Harry Potter in it, so you can have him be the Seeker. And then the Hufflepuff and Slytherin and Ravenclaw teams are just all generic players unless you get the special upgrade, which adds 1 character per team. And it just, I don't know, the whole thing seemed junk. I feel like this is one, if it hadn't canceled and we had talked about it during Kickstarter, we would have just ripped it. But I just can't get over the fact that a Kickstarter blamed the U.S. elections for their failure to raise much over 1/10 of their funding goal. So,
and a little bit of research into who Night Games is. This is their first game, period. It is a subsidiary of Night Models, who has done a Harry Potter miniature adventure game, which is currently rated as 18,000th 443rd on PGG. And then the Batman miniature game, which is ranked 5,996th, which has had at least 3 editions since it came out in 2012.
Jesus.
Its 3rd edition does not have very many ratings, which makes me think that it's not
Very good.
or not out yet.
Or not out yet. That
Yeah.
could be.
Yeah. But the 2nd edition is also not very popular either. So
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of reason to be very skeptical of this Kickstarter when it returns.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. Maybe we'll be back in 2 weeks and be like, hey, we talked shit about this 2 weeks ago, and now they've crushed their funding goal and have raised $2 million.
Yeah, and looking over their minis and paint jobs they have for their game, they're not terrible.
The minis look pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, like that's one of the few things. I don't think it looks like $120 for a 45-minute 2-player game good. But they look decent.
Yeah. This Batman doesn't look so good. It might be a not actually just a fan posted that picture. It's a bad paint job. So yeah, that's Night Models and Night Games and Harry Potter.
Yeah.
HP CTS AWS BG parentheses canceled.
Indeed.
That would be Harry Potter Catch the Snitch, a Wizards sports board game. Canceled.
Indeed. So that should
there's a full rule
transition
book on
nicely.
there, so this game does exist, but it just is not going to exist yet.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that lets us move over to actual Kickstarters.
Yes, actual Kickstarters, which will begin with Kabuto Sumo, which is very well funded. 196,000 of its $10,000 goal. Over 4,300 backers. You have today to actually back it, and you can back it for its most popular pledge of $44.
Yeah, I didn't realize this had such little time. This game looks awesome, and I wish we had seen it before so we could have talked about it earlier. So it's a 2 to 4 player, 15 to 20 minute kind of dexterity game about sumo wrestling beetles. So it's based off of an actual thing that happens in Japan in the spring where the rhinoceros beetles, aka Kabuto Mushi,
I want to say
which is Japanese for helmet bug.
Largest beetle ever?
I don't know about that. But essentially these bugs come out in the spring and then butt heads and kind of fight to, impress mates and things like that. And so that's where the idea for this came from. It's being put on by Chad Deshawn, who is the founder of BoardGameTables.com. So in addition to building really good tables, they've really kind of moved into doing some games and stuff. So this is coming from them. And essentially what the game is, I'm going to do this little bullet point description from the Kickstarter, because I think this is a really good thing they put together here. Imagine a game of billiards, but the 8-ball is a ping pong ball. Imagine a game of shuffleboard, but half of the discs are frisbees. Imagine a coin dozer arcade game, but someone can steal your quarters. Then pretend you're a sumo wrestling insect, and that's Kabuto Sumo. So the way the game actually plays is you've got this little stand that's the sumo ring, and it's got a little area to the side that kind of sticks off. And they have preset ways that you stack the beetles for everybody who's playing. So the very, very, very base game, everybody has the same style of sumo beetle. And so they have a layout for 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, however you want to do it, that are then surrounded by small, medium, and large tokens, little discs. And so on your turn, you take a token and you put it in the little side area and you push it somehow, whichever direction or force you want to, into the sumo ring. This will make all the other discs kind of shift and move, and the goal is to do this over multiple rounds and push your opponent off the edge. As you push things on, anything that falls off, you get to claim and use for pushing in later rounds. So you can win one of two ways. You can push your opponents off, or you can capture as many of the pieces as possible to where they don't have any more pieces to use to push and knock more pieces off. So that's the base game. They then added, and even in the base game, they've got 6 to 8 wrestler cards, depending on stretch goals, which each wrestler card will then grant you a unique signature move piece, which is a different, uniquely shaped piece that does weird shit. So, one of them is these giant crushing mandibles that, if you can get another opponent or a piece in them, you can just take it. So, you can win. It gives that character a third option for winning by getting their opponent inside those special jaws. One of the other guys, he gets to use his and then basically take it back off at the start of his next turn. Stuff like that. They're all kind of weird, unique shaped ones that do different things. It looks like the kind of game that would be just a ridiculous amount of stupid fun.
And for a price that's not, ridiculous.
Like $30.
Yeah, and, you can get the one with all the individual player powers for $44.
Yeah. Yeah, they're moving right along through some of their stretch goals and stuff. They have a couple more. They've got one at 150,000 and one at 250,000. So they're getting pretty close to that. They clearly just haven't updated for the 150,000 because they're past that.
Yes, they're almost at 200,000.
Yeah, so they're well on their way to that $250,000 unlock as well. Components look excellent. I mean, most of the games I've looked at from board game tables, they tend to have really good components, just they make pretty good tables. Yeah. I don't know. I think it looks kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's on that same level, I think, of quality of QE and On Tour that I haven't played, but is probably also nice.
Oh, shit. I might have to jump up to the game night bundle. If I back this, I'm on the fence. But if I back this, I forgot about QE. I might have to jump up to that $85 bundle where you get one of their other games. Or not the 85. 85. Yeah. Get a bundle with an extra game from our catalog and a couple awesome accessories. Game of your choice. QE, On Tour, Loot of Lima, or Bites. I might have to get myself a copy of QE finally.
Yeah.
It's real good.
We'll see. It is real good. I do really like QE. And then their edition of it is, again, fantastic components. So, I don't know. Art and stuff from this one's from Conchi Moria. Yeah. Looks like a solid little game. So, go check that out. Kabuto Sumo.
Next up on Kickstarter, we have Star Scrappers. Very well funded. 63,000 of its $17,000 goal, over 1,000 backers, just about a week left to pledge this one, which you can at its most popular level of $39. For once, the most popular set is just the core and not the deluxe.
Right. So Star Scrappers Orbital is a new edition version of an older game from Jakub Frixelius, a.k.a. the designer of podcast #1 popular, Terraforming Mars. So it is a card game for 1 to 5 players where you are going to be doing some tableau building, engine building, worker placement type things, and plays 1 to 5 players. So essentially, what you're going to be doing is you use all of the different cards. There's a whole bunch of different module type cards, like support modules, military modules, things like that. You buy them from the marketplace and add them to your space station that you're building. Then you move your workers around inside your own space station, activating the different rooms that they are in if the rooms are undamaged. And then every so often in the game, you'll have different scoring rounds where you score points for any undamaged modules you have. However, they may or may not score. They'll also earn you more money, which you can then use in later rounds to buy more modules. they talk about that there's like 2 different ways you can play, like one that's really peaceful and friendly and you don't really fuck with each other's orbitals, or you can play really competitive and have like military stuff where you actually like can attack other people's space stations and whatnot. They also have a Kickstarter exclusive mini expansion, the Envoys, which is 5 cards to start with, but will be unlocking more throughout the campaign. And they just give you different gameplay abilities that you can take advantage of if you have different Envoy cards. So, yeah. Core set, like Jeff said, is the most popular. That's just wooden meeples. The deluxe set upgrades them to standees.
They call it organic glass.
Yeah, which I don't know.
I wonder if they're sort of that like rounded plastic,
like acrylic-y plastic stuff
with the image inside.
That could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got a bunch of different options.
And there's the cave-in
expansion thing.
Yep.
Which offers like legendary mercenaries and faction totems.
Yeah, it just seems
it's
like
a separate and standalone game. Cave-in is.
Oh,
I
saw
see. That here.
I see.
Separate and standalone game. So the like €90 pledge is basically 2 standalone games.
I see. With all the fancy meeples.
With the living glass standees.
Organic glass.
Organic, that's what it was. Organic glass.
Because that's what I want my glass to be, is organic. I don't want any GMO influenced glass.
Yes.
Fuck no, you don't.
But like how you get all of the cards and stuff together? The cards are like space station modules, and they all fit together in a way that reminds me a lot of Galaxy Trucker.
Yeah, like they'll have different connections coming off of different ends, so you have to rotate them to make them fit and build into your little space station. And depending on how you do that, like you can totally block off some cards from each other.
And then the all the different cards have various powers and stuff on them, like protect this station against unfit crew, gain resource. It's the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems neat. It seems like a lot though. Like I have to remember all of these million different what all these different rooms do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like saying that you have to remember what every single card does in, like, I don't know, Star Realms or something. I don't think that's necessarily true. Like, it comes out in a marketplace, you can see them, be like, oh yeah, that one works really well for me.
Yeah, I guess that depends if you use them later or just when you play them.
Well, so the ones you put in your space station, like I said, you move workers around in the space station to activate different things.
Okay.
Use an action of one of your non-damaged modules. Pay the cost in crew and or money to get the different effect. Repair, remove damage from modules. Yeah. Something I thought I saw said, like, you have to move your people around to activate the rooms and stuff. But yeah. It plays over 5 rounds, which each represent a year. So it's 5 years of building a space station. There's event cards and things that you can play as well.
There's mega credits.
Yep, you still use mega credits. I think they even have a very similar design to what the mega credits look like in Terraforming Mars. But yeah, I don't know. I think it looks kind of interesting. I super dig worker placement engine building games.
The price isn't too bad for just the standard set. It seems like the other stuff isn't
super necessary at all.
It's all just fancy upgrades, which is nice that they are just add-ons and not part of that core $39 set.
Yeah.
Not gonna blow the bank this week on Kickstarters. Yet.
Indeed not.
Yet.
No. Yet. So yeah, that's Star Scrappers Orbital from Jakob Frixelius and Hexy Games. Hexy Studio. That's what it is. So, next up and last up on Kickstarters.
Last up, we have Townsfolk Tussle. Very well funded, $345,000 of its $79,000 goal, over 4,900 backers, and about a week left to pledge this one, which you can, for its thankfully only pledge level of $85.
Indeed. So, Townsfolk Tussle is a cooperative boss battling adventure for your vintage cartoon town. The sheriff has been murdered, and there's no one left to guard your town, and so bad guys are coming. And so you and your ragged townsfolk all join together to go fight monsters. 2 to 5 players, 40 minutes per player. It is basically a heavily cartoony Kingdom Death light.
If anyone has ever seen what Cuphead looks like, or which is made to look like a lot of really old Looney Tunes cartoons.
Old cartoons.
Like original, like I don't know, someone would be playing a piano for the music. Because it was silent.
Yes.
Everything is whistling as you're walking along, and and everything's dancing. So yeah.
Yes. This has that style to a T and looks really good. But it also has that edge that Cuphead had, to where it's like gambling and the devil, but this one's bloody and also creepy.
Yeah, the monsters are all real weird and bizarre and everything. So basically, the way you play, probably going to sound a lot like Kingdom Death Monster. You choose your townsfolk. Everyone has their own quirks, stats, starting gear, things like that. Then you get more gear as you fight monsters and things. You know, kill an antelope and you get some horns that you can turn into a codpiece.
Can I have 2 characters have sex, create a baby, and then immediately make that baby go fight?
No,
this is family-friendly Kingdom Death.
Not even that family-friendly.
Not really.
So it seems like you're aiming to kill a boss, and you have various tussles on your way to kill that boss.
Yeah, so it's 4 rounds. There's a town phase and a fight phase. In the town phase, you can explore and plan to get feats of metal and town events and things like that. You can go shopping at the peddler. Then once you're done, you flip over
which is getting you gear
fight.
And things like that.
Yeah. Then when you fight, you set up an invading ruffian. You fight them. Once you've beaten them, you go back to the town phase, back and forth, all leading up to the final fight. And the last ruffian is basically, like Jeff said, the boss fight.
But
they have new terrain features.
Yeah, even with that setup, there's terrain cards that you put out in, I assume, some sort of rules for various terrain placements. It has that square grid that you're fighting on, or duking it out.
Yeah.
The ruffian, I don't know. It's hard to tell exactly how it works, but it's like target, words, arrow, move, arrow, do your attack. That's very similar to a Kingdom Death AI card that the monster would be using. But when you fight these monsters, you're not really getting pieces to turn into equipment. You're just getting equipment. You're getting loot straight off. Straight off the monster. So it is not as nitty-gritty detailed of turning the specific organs, bones, and hides into specific things from certain crafters. But as you fight certain ruffians, you will be getting certain items that you will, hand out to people to fight with.
Yes. So
a lot of minis. Seems like they're all one piece or very few pieces.
Yeah.
So very unlike Kingdom Death.
These seem like you will actually enjoy assembling them.
I do like that the first stretch goal is standees. Bring back 2D, you heathens. Apparently, people wanted that by popular demand.
I could see that in this with how good the art is.
Yes.
Because these all come 3D miniatures, but unpainted. But having that sort of art back in would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of this equipment has plus movement, moxie, accuracy, hit points, but not. There's clearly a Zelda pack.
Yes. The Heroes pack. Yes.
Yes.
The Hero's sword, the Hero's shield, the tunic, tights, cap.
Yes.
Indeed.
It doesn't have. It's about to get the game trays treatment.
Real close to the game trays.
That's the last unlock for it. Yeah. Seems like the box is pretty big.
Yes,
and
it does.
It's only $85, and that's not terrible.
No. Especially when you compare it to Kingdom Death Monster prices. So
Which is like
right.
What is it? $400 for the base set?
Yeah. Something like that.
I
It's
can hear
fucking
Google.
ludicrous.
I can hear the Oracle in the background.
$400, but it's sold out at the moment, so you can't even buy it.
No.
Yeah.
Townsfolk Tussle is currently on Tabletop Simulator. If you would want to,
They've got
try
a demo at least.
A demo
that gives you a
yes.
full
run
idea of how to play.
That.
No, this is a very well done Kickstarter in terms of like thematically, like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything's
Well laid out. Looks nice and professional.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When
So you
Warner
got,
Brothers gonna sue?
I don't see anything in here that looks too egregious.
No, it's definitely just that kind of
Style.
style.
Yeah. But yeah. So you got a week, about a week to back that one. From when you hear this. So go check it out. Townsfolk Tussle.
I'm just gonna look at shipping.
Oh,
I'm looking at minimum of
shipping.
$20.
There you go.
Unless you're in China, and that's $13. $13 to $59.
Yep.
There you go.
And that's it for Kickstarter, and that's it for everything.
Indeed. No new listener feedback this week. Got a little bit last week, but nothing this week. So, if you want to send us listener feedback, you can do so by sending us an email.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can also find us over on Twitter, where I tweet under @MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
We have our Instagram account @MHGameGuys, Facebook.com/MHGameGuys for our Facebook page. Our website, milehighgameguys.com, you can find old links to things like the Slack channel, which it's an old link, but it still works. It's an old code, but it checks out. To our Slack channel, where you can join. That's a great place if you want to ever play any kind of video games with us, like if you want to jump in on some of our Among Us games, or if you want to try and jump in onto some of the Arkham Horror stuff that seems like is just always happening. Things like that. You can all find all of that in our Slack channel. It's free to join. We don't put it behind a paywall. If you listen to the show and you want to come hang out in Slack, you can do so. We have our BGG guild number 2731. There's a Q&A thread over there where I'm asking a whole bunch of questions for one of the first times when we are able to get all three of us back in the studio. We will do a Q&A live stream, answer a bunch of questions, and just revel in actually being able to socialize in the same room again for the first time in probably a year by the time it actually happens. And then we have our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/MHGameGuys. Go follow/subscribe over there. That way you can get some notifications when we do things like an impromptu game of Terraforming Mars on Tabletop Simulator, or a drunken election night round of Among Us. Things like that. And then every other Tuesday, I do Mile High Dungeon Delvers with the rest of that crew if you want to catch some D&D live streams. So there's still stuff happening over on the Twitch channel. Highly recommend you go check that out. Follow along, at least see what's happening. Yeah. I think that pretty much wraps up all the different ways to get a hold of us and find our content. Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. We always want to thank our sponsors for continuing to support the show. So big thanks to Gray Fox Games. They are continuing to have coupon codes for us and for our fans. So this month we are doing Nove Game Guys. NOVGAMEGUYS. Nove Game Guys. Use that promo code over on grayfoxgames.com for the purchase of any non-exclusive item for 20% off. So it's a pretty good deal. You should go check that out. There will be pre-orders very soon for their most recent Kickstarter, the Green Party expansion for Campaign Trail. So go check that out. Zach and I both did end up backing it. So when that actually ships and gets out here, we will be ready and willing to play it, try it, and talk about it. So expect to hear more about that in the future. Jeff, do you have a prepared statement about our sponsors?
Of course. Gray Fox Games, quality games, cleverly crafted. Also, I said my sword was a tool of justice, not used in anger, not used for vengeance. But now I'm not so sure. And besides, this isn't my sword.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Was it a gun?
No, just a sword.
I thought he said it wasn't a sword.
No, it's not his sword. Isn't my sword. He was using someone else's sword, so that way he can use it for anger and for vengeance, and not a tool for justice.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, well, right on, guys. That wraps up the whole episode. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll be back next week. Until then, I've been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm Jeff, Series X.
Bye.
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 Punchboard Media, where we all
bring something
to the table.
pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.